So, here we go. All right, welcome back, guys. It's episode 6 of GOM Learns GAC. Went 8-4 this season. Probably left a couple wins on the table due to careless errors, had a unfortunate crash, all sorts of stuff. But overall, I was pretty pleased with how the season went. And so let's dive in and talk about what we learned. So, first things first, this is a thing we do every week. But actually, last week we didn't do one of these. We actually prepared, kind of updated these. Some of these slides were getting a little stale, so kind of did like a community. We kind of built this as a community. We dropped a lot of characters off the list. I'd overlooked some, so I really enjoy building these with you guys. If you guys ever want to take part in this, we stream over on Twitch Monday nights, Wednesday nights, 10 p.m., and then also Saturday afternoons around 2 o'clock p.m. So do check us out. We have a lot of fun. So these are the speeds to prepare for. We've officially moved Mara Jade up into the 370 category. Echo has been here. Moff Gideon has been here. No difference. We're keeping Cat in the 350. A lot of people, but the thing is, people run her 370 or 370 plus, or they run her healthy and slow. These are not the speeds you need to succeed. These are the speeds you need to prepare for if you want to make a climb up into the top 250, into the top 100, and eventually get yourselves on the leaderboard. So, Admiral Piet, Darth Revan, both of those 350. It's a classic Piet versus Revan. We got Cat on here, and again, Dash and Queel are officially just cemented into the 350 plus category, as we talk about every week. If you guys lack some of the secondary speed, Dash and Queel can be utilized offensively or on other comps altogether for a little less speed. So do keep that in mind. Armor is a new addition here to the 330 plus category. You're seeing a lot of people using armor, like armor with Thrawn, with C, armor and Thrawn with Kylo. Both of those characters, C and Kylo, can now beat General Kenobi. Miserable banners, but both of the teams do include armor. Not always Thrawn, but armor is on there, and the faster she goes, the higher probability you'll have to land all 3 stacks of the armor on your GL before she perishes to an inevitable mass assist, basic attack, whatever your armor dies to. So, Boss is always going to be paired with Grief, or at least for the short term in this 330 plus category. Shock T and Zam Wessel. Again, this is going to be an Omicron Zam Wessel. These are the things you'll see a lot of. Shock T provides a lot of support, especially if you want to use like your JML versus Lord Vader. Shock T's going fast, can get out that cleanse second, right? Your JML will go, Vader will go, and then Shock T can cleanse all of the goodies. Just that way you can start getting the turn meter if you're using Grandmaster Yoda. Get turn meter all around for your team, and remove the days so that you can actually use the Jedi Master Luke leadership. Other candidates for fast sets, we took a lot of my Homer picks out of this, and it took the advice of the community for the most part for this. B1 CLS Droideka is a new addition. You see a lot of people running Droideka, like a really fast Droideka to kind of proc that Maul Frenzy on like a Maul lead team. Droideka, all sorts of advantages for going fast, and we're seeing more and more of these as we climb. First Order Officer, IG-11, we've talked about this is kind of a niche one here. A niche one, and you're not going to see it all the time, but if you do have the secondary speed to do it, it's a way to utilize your dad bod Boba pretty effectively for Grand Arena, right? So it's interesting, it's different, but it's a very effective team, very good. There's a situation where IG-11 going very, very fast ahead of Queel is advantageous. Great Admiral Thrawn here. Han Solo, Pow is the facilitator of your Mon Mothma, Resistance Hero Finn. He was in the 330 category, but we've moved him out as he just doesn't really seem to be super effective fast, especially if people are using Starkiller against it. Having a lightning fast Resistance Hero Finn is not going to go before the opposing Mara Jade, right? So, and Rex, again, Rex will be on this list forever. So, as we talk about every week, these are your calculations. If you just want to jot these down. Basically, the pre-turn meter effect, any team that gets turn meter prior to the start of the battle, you'll see that in Mon Mothma. You guys are very familiar with that. Darth Maul lead, droids and BB-8, all this stuff here. We talk about this every week. And we'll leave this on here just for reference moving forward. And we've made some changes to the Omicron list, guys. We made some changes. We went over this all together again the other night. Starkiller Unique is, in my opinion, the undisputed first. but a little more difficult to obtain. So Zam Wessel is going to probably be one for those of you guys that don't have Star Killer. Zam Wessel is currently, in my opinion, the best. Nobody really argued it in the chat the other night, so Zam Wessel remains in the 2 spot. Qui-Gon Jinn and Wampa, we actually did a survey on Monday night stream. What do you guys think is better? Qui-Gon barely won out, 52% to 48, out of a lot of votes too. A lot of people watching the stream. So, you get a different group of people in there that could very easily go the other way. So, we're going to actually call that 3A and 3B now. Poor Iden's going to slip down to the 5th spot, but just barely, just barely. Wampa's exciting. Wampa's the new fun. Everyone's soloing stuff, having a great time with Wampa. But unfortunately, Wampa has zero viability on defense, whereas Versio can be a pain on defense. So very tight race here for 3rd, 4th, and 5th spots. We got Clash Rendar here prepared for anything, and Darth Talon, 6th and 7th. These are going to be very roster specific. If you have the roster to utilize these two, these are very, very good Omicrons. They're not as sexy as some of the other ones. They're not as fun, but very, very, very good if you have the supporting cast. And same can be said with Chief Sherpa down here in 10. We got Star Killers, both his specials at 8 and 9. You can make a case that maybe we actually moved this down. Boundless Force Throw was up here above Darth Talon. We just put them both together. They are specials. If you guys are just getting Star Killer, definitely want to go for that unique first. Use them a little bit. Maybe the way you use them or utilize them, you don't really even need the specials. So I would suggest doing unique first, having one in your pocket for the unique for whenever you're eventually going to get Star Killer. Have one ready immediately for him, and then kind of use them for a week or two, maybe a month, maybe a full season, and then decide if you want these other specials. Chief Sherpa, very, very good if you have the Ewoks. And Akbar, Tico, Leia, and Krennic are going to round out 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th. And as we say every week, guys, 10th through 14th aren't necessarily bad Omicrons, right? Just because they're at the bottom of the list does not mean they're terrible. They're not as useful as some of the other ones. Like Director Krennic. Director Krennic is actually very good. Unfortunately, Death Trooper, you only have one Death Trooper, right? If Death Trooper is available, like let's say you have no interest in the Versio team whatsoever, maybe you don't need him for your Veers team. I think Krennic then, if you have Death Trooper available, I would say Krennic might even jump up to 11th. It's a very good Omicron if you have Death Trooper available. Rose Tico, I think, has a little bit of promise. Just no one really pulled the trigger on that. Some people just out of nothing more than pure spite, right? So, yeah. So, as you guys know, we had fleet changes this week. So we're going to briefly talk about that. We'll go way more into depth about this next week. Savitar shared an excellent resource to me. I'm going to try to do some calculations, and we'll go over what relic levels are the most effective for each individual ship. Try to have that ready next week. If not, we'll do the week after that. But we did have fleet changes. And first and foremost, a lot of people are upset about this, but unfortunately, your tiers, they don't translate into wins, right? You're not going to win by complaining about the fleet changes. You're going to win by adapting and preparing. This is the way it's going to be. It's very unfortunate for the Kyber, for the lower, anyone not in Kyber 1. It's very unfortunate, but it's not the end of the world. And the second bullet point here, this is the way they've always done it. Introduction of problems always comes before the solution. CG 2015. They've done this since the creation of the game, and it's 100% true, and this is no different than anything they've ever introduced really into the game. They just throw it at us, we all freak out, and then we figure it out. We're going to do the same thing here. It's unfortunate. If you're not going to quit the game over this change, then we've had a week or so to stew on it. It's time to start getting ready for it, right? So we got to prepare. And just real quickly, just 3 things to start considering, right? You got to be open to new strats and adapt. You want to place your 3 best fleets? Maybe you place your 3 best fleets and just try to efficiently clear the 2 options that you have that you feel like you can get the most banners out of those 2 teams. And if they can't clear you, especially if you put Executor on defense and they throw 3 fleets at your Executor, they're not going to be able to efficiently clean up the other 2 teams more than likely, and you'll end up winning on efficiency without even attacking the Executor or whatever fleet is the scariest on the opposite side. Let's see. You can cheese. You can place your 3 crappiest fleets with no reserves on the board, and then just have everything for offense and hope for the best. But I will say, if you guys consider cheesing ships like that, you're probably going to want to put a little more down on the character side of defense. Now tonight's main topic, guys, is going to be Wampa. All right, that's the greatest, the hot item in the community right now. Everybody loves Wampa. Get me some Wampa, 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 Wampa. But maybe you don't have an infinite amount of, resources. Maybe you're not obtaining the Omicrons every single week. Maybe you're a lower roster punching above your weight class. You just simply don't have the roster to do some of these galactic challenges. Maybe you're completely free to play and you'll never buy a character marquee pack up to 5. Whatever the case is, maybe you don't have the inflow that a lot of players do. So you got to be you got to be real picky with your Omicron. So we're going to discuss the pros and cons of Wampa tonight. So best cleanup in the game, and this is why this part right here alone is why I would consider Wampa. The cleaning up option is, to me personally, is far more attractive than any of this junk down here that Wampa can solo. So that is something very, very, very important, because how many times have you guys lost a match by just a handful of banners because you lost to a GL and then you had no choice but to sit there and throw in burners and pick off characters? Next thing you know, you got 9 teams deep, into Ray, just trying to set her up. This could save you a lot of time and banners. So potentially, we did get the title update tonight. We do clearly see in game now that 3 versus 3 is in the game. So it could potentially, and in my opinion, it is probably the very best 3 versus 3 Omicron right now as it stands. We will have to see, obviously, when we get the first round of that in the new format. But that's something to consider as well. And it's a solo machine. Comps may vary. Now Wampa is not going to beat every single C Bounty Hunter and Mon Mothma comp, but he beats the vast majority of them. Like C, there's several instances in swgoh.gg. I've seen a lot of your videos that you've sent me of Wampa soloing certain C teams. Not all C teams, but kind of I got all these leftover Sith. Let's throw it on there in the back sort of C teams. Wampa can take care of that. Obviously, some Bounty Hunter teams. A lot of these teams include Zam Wessel. So Wampa is capable of taking down some Bounty Hunters, especially with the tenacity boosts. Bounty Hunters are heavily debuff-oriented sort of factions. So you got to be careful there if you want to place Bounty Hunters. And these are teams you guys, if you're facing a Wampa, these are teams you need to be conscious of as well, right? You don't want to place a whole bunch of these teams or just one of these teams that's a clear victim for Wampa. So this is a good list to know what Wampa can do and maybe what not to place against Wampa. So Mon Mothma, now I will say Wampa is not 100% against Mon Mothma, right? I think a lot of people have learned that, especially the Relic 7, Relic 8, which you guys will see quite often in the top 100. So it's a good counter for Mon Mothma. I would not call it 100%. And same thing with Versio. Versio is pretty automatic with Wampa, except people are catching on and they're starting to just dump tons and tons of potency on their Versio. We'll have to see how that kind of plays out. That's a topic we'll talk on the next slide. Dash Rendar beats various Dash, not all, but some of the, I don't want to say crappier, but some of the maybe the Dash teams, like I got Youngha and Orlando. A lot of the Dash variants Wampa can't beat. Separatist, anything Separatist, Newt Gunray, Grievous just kind of crushes all that stuff. There's no turn meter when everybody's dazed, right? And then the Ewoks. So the Ewoks have made a slideshow, ladies and gentlemen. So yes. So now these are the pros, obviously. Everybody's well aware of these. But we're going to talk about the cons now, which maybe a lot of people aren't considering about Wampa. All of these teams we just looked at, C, Bounty Hunters, Mon Mothma, Versio, Dash, General Grievous especially, all of these teams that Wampa solos just so happen to be some of the most versatile teams on offense in the game. All of those teams we just mentioned beat tons and tons of teams on the board. So it can be relatively simple. I don't want to say simple. It is probable that your opponent, especially in the higher rankings where people have very deep rosters, it's very probable that your opponent can completely shut down your Wampa and not place anything that you can use it against. So it's essentially eliminated an Omicron from your roster, which, in my opinion, is arguably the most, in my opinion, most valuable resource in the game right now. It's probably Omicrons. So if you have a deep enough roster, you kind of shut Wampa down. No soloing for you, right? So you basically just you nip them in the bud. So And how long, like a lot of these teams we looked at, we'll go to it again, how long is it going to take until somebody figures out how to mod it, how to sub in a character to prevent Wampa from soloing said team? This is something we're already seeing. Like I mentioned, in Versio, people are starting to stack tons of potency on Versio. It's not going to completely stop Wampa, but it just kind of randomizes it, throws that extra layer of RNG into the mix where maybe your Wampa can't beat Versio if you're vulnerable, you're still all this stuff. Versio goes first, so that's just one example, and I'm sure many people will start figuring out how to stop their bounty hunters from getting Wampa. I mean, see, it's pretty obvious. Just put Malik on there. See, there are ways to make your teams Wampa proof. And it's a new mindset. I think with this Zeta being so popular, it's fourth on our list. Everyone loves it, right? I'm not criticizing the Omicron at all, but it is something to consider. You need to put it into your strategy. Like it's that good of an Omicron to where it's going to impact people's strategies over time. So it's something if you want to go ahead and get ahead of the curve, this is something to start considering. Go through your rosters, use these new loadout tabs, and start trying to plan out what can I beat with Mon Mothma, what can I beat with Dash, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. I've made slides for you guys on that stuff too, just to kind of get you started, get the theory crafting started. I'm looking forward to what you guys come up with. And 0 defense viability. You can't put a solo Wump on defense. I guess you could. It'd be very interesting to see actually, but really not. Not a good idea. No faction, right? So this is going to eliminate Wampa from any sort of future teams, right? So like any of these characters that come out now, like anything unaligned Force user, even if there's no place in the Jedi, there's no place in the Empire or Sith, you can always have an option for your Star Killer team. So it's going to limit it's going to limit future Wampa lifting up, if that makes any sense. And you do need, if you do put the Omicron on, you are going to want to really relic and develop your Wampa as high as you possibly can, right? And really dedicate a good set of mods to her, invest in mod resources, get her up as high as you can, to kind of protect your investment, if you will. Okay, well, Hayes not set shit. The game doesn't allow you to set a single tune on defense. Okay, so in my face. I guess that's why I've never seen it. So now, a lot of these teams, all of these, not all of them, but Versio, Mon Mothma, and Dash especially, these teams are very popular defensively, right? But they are, Wampa-able. So what can these teams beat? How do we use these teams on offense? So I've made a spreadsheet. I obviously have not tested everything on these spreadsheets. A lot of this data is coming from .gg, but some of this is from my own personal experience. So, what do we use to see in Bounty Hunters against on offense? Everything, right? You guys know what C beats in Bounty Hunters, especially if you have Zam, beats damn near anything not named with GL as well. So these teams are super versatile on offense. Mon Mothma, people forget everyone got Kyle Katarn, and maybe it had something to do with people weren't placing the traditional Grievous teams on defense anymore. That could be the case too. But Mon Mothma Kyle Katarn comes out, everyone's like, yes, defense, and puts them on defense. I see very few people, at least my opponents, using Mon Mothma on offense, and it beats all sorts of various Separatist comps. Like if your opponent places a GG Nuke team with all the droids, they typically place Newt and the Separatist droids together as a second team. Mothma beats that team fairly easily. Any of the more traditional GG teams, Watts, Newt Gunray, or Droideka as your fifth, Mon Mothma can beat that. You got a deep faction for Mon Mothma. I know a lot of people are going to have Cassian and K2 SO, but those characters actually have roles, and they prop up your team against certain sort of teams, and it's an excellent cleanup option. Let's say you go in there and you don't quite finish the team off. Mon Mothma is an excellent cleanup option for very good banners. Often you don't need the full 5 to clean something up. And the fun gambler for you gamblers out there, Mon Mothma's got a 40% chance against damn near anything not named a GL. And if your Kyle Katarn goes first, 40% of the time, Hoth Rebel Scout's going to fuel that turn meter, and you just go. Something to think about. If you're ever in a pinch and you got Dash Rendar in the back, I don't know what to do. 40% of the time, you got a shot with Mon Mothma. So, a BAM as well. Same sort of thing there, Northern Border. Like, you could use Mom versus anything, but you're only going to get that Hoth Rebel Scout proc 40% of the time. And I didn't see that specific battle, but I would be willing to bet that Zareth won that fight because his Kyle Katarn went before the opposing Queel, and then he got that proc on the first go. I'm not saying it beats. It's not saying it's again 40% of the time. If you don't proc that Hoth Rebel Scout, then you're roasted, right? Because Bam will just run you over. Um, but that's it. The Iden is a newer one. We don't have too much data. I've used her a few times on offense, but unfortunately, I haven't really had the opportunity to try it against a CLS team. I've seen it done. Night Sisters Geos, that's going to be a common theme here. It's just the yesterday's meta, right? The Night Sisters and Geos, essentially everything that Wampa can solo can beat Night Sisters and Geos. So that's a trend we're seeing here. I can beat CLS, I can beat Mantha, and Iden's potency dictates other possibilities. You can beat dash teams with Versio if you land that vulnerable. If you do not land that vulnerable and reduce dash render speed, it gets super dicey, right? So these are kind of gambling offensively. These are some gambles, but they can really pay off for you if you're in a real pinch. So you can go from not having an answer to, in Monmouth's case, 40% of the time having a potentially 65 point banner win. So just start considering how to use these teams on offense, guys. You're gonna see a lot of Wampas moving forward. So Dash is actually very, very good on offense. You don't see it very often. The Omicron opens up the playbook, but it's definitely not required to be successful against all these teams. Dash can beat, and this is actually a popular one now. People are putting their Malik with C. They are putting their Malik with maybe Starkiller. Basically, putting their Malik on teams where they don't want to get Wampa'd. They don't want to get Starkillered. Whatever the case is, Malik with Ray has been a kind of a trending thing that I've personally seen and used myself to attempt to stop people from using Starkiller on my Ray. It's not as good as I was hoping, but you're seeing DR plus Nest a lot without Malik. Dash roasts this team, right? Dash has to go first, but the Dash can roast this team. Dash can also beat Versio. Dash can also beat any sort of resistance comp. This includes JTR Resistance Hero Bros, BB-8. Includes basically any first order comp you could possibly come up with that without Supreme Leader Kylo Ren being on the team. And again, Night Sister Geos. Yeah. I think young Lando is actually pretty good on this team. He's kind of been overlooked for many moons. His ship even is it's usable, right? But not too many people have really relicked up Lando's specifically for the ship. It's the best, one of the better single target damage units you can put with Dash. Lots of big damage boosts with his kit, with Dash's abilities. It's pretty fun character. I've just taken him to Relic 5. We'll see if I need to take him higher. But yes, consider if you get let's say you get a softer matchup. Maybe you guys went 0-3 the last round of GAC. You're going to have a relatively easier bracket this time. These are the matches where you need to, try Dash. Maybe you're up against an opponent and you're just like, oh, I have zero chance. I'm not encouraging anyone to ever give up. You shouldn't do that. But if you have two GLs or something, in a case where you have two GLs, you're going to get somebody with 6 and Starkiller. It's very, very unlikely you're going to win. These are the matches that you can utilize. Like, you might take the loss, but you're going to learn so much from that loss because you're able to test out Dash, test out your Separatists, test out your Mon Mothma. You get to be familiar with these teams on offense. So it's Dash is really good. Don't sleep on Dash. And Separatists, obviously, you guys know what GG beats. GG can beat GL comps. GG can beat JML. GG can beat C. GG can beat Starkiller. And as you can see, CLS, DR, if you want to run the GG nukes, Mon Mothma, Iden, the list goes on and on and on. GG should probably be utilized in offense anyway, but not a necessity. So this last slide is something we do every week, but we've actually changed it because this one, considerations for R7 Plus, was getting very, very stale because it never changes. Like I was getting desperate, just like making stuff up to add to it just to have a little bit of variety. So we're gonna start doing, and let me know if you guys like the old format better or this format. Whatever. But these are the ones I'm personally looking at. My next R9, considering GK and C. We're not gonna do. We got to see how this round of TWs goes. But if we win both, then maybe I'll have enough to do one before the next GAC. We will see, but these are the two options. C, get the health boost going. As you climb and the better teams you fight, I am starting to get a little uncomfortable with C Watt tank. I'm a little more comfortable if it's like C armor Watt tank. So some of these teams, especially the really decked out Rays, C can kind of struggle against. So R9 should remedy that. Basically, what you're doing is people are R9ing Ray, and you R9 C. to potentially counter Ray still, and he does a whole variety of other things. We're starting to see more and more of him on defense. He can beat Kenobi with the right comp. I think we used it a couple times on the stream. It's like C, a couple Geonosians, Brood Alpha, Sunfac, Armor Watt that beats Kenobi for terrible banners, but R9 would hopefully speed that up a little bit. And then R8s, we actually, every Monday night, or not every, but when I have the resources available on Monday nights, I typically let the chat choose who to R8. It's not just anybody in the roster. It is a very specific list of characters that I would like to have R8, but you guys usually get to decide those for me. It's currently, we did Darth Sion last night. Poor fella's been on the list for months, and we finally got him done. So Chewbacca, Darth Trooper, Darth Vader, who has been here for a while, and Jedi Knight Luke is a new addition, and also Scareful Pathfinder. Scareful Pathfinder is an interesting one because if you have an R7 Biston or an R7 pilot and an R8 pilot, it will outspeed an R8 Snips. That's going to be very, very important moving forward for fleets. So that's something to consider, and that's what I'd like to touch on next week. Is like if you take this pilot to X, it's faster than this pilot at X or at Y, right? So I'm gonna try to have that ready next week. If not, it'll be the week after. But we'll have a nice list of, this is the ship you want to beat. This is the ship you need to have, sort of stuff. In R7, we're going all in on the First Order fleet. We are having fleets come out, so we're going to slowly over the weeks, potentially months, get our First Order officer and Hux to R7. So First Order officer is not in a massive hurry because it is a 5-star ship for me. So I'm not in a huge hurry there, but we're going to start working on him, and we're really going to develop this First Order squad. We're going to see. Maybe I might have to let's actually throw him on here too, because he's only Relic 5. So let's throw First Order Stormtrooper on here as well to kind of get that shuttle just a little tankier. So yeah, guys, we will see you next week for episode 7. Thank you guys very much. Again, Operation Metaverse on Twitch. You can check us out in the Discord, and we'll see you guys soon. Thanks. Okay, Aldo just confirmed that is not politically correct by saying husky. That's a term I've not heard in a long time. The problem is I'm not big enough per se to be big and tall. I'm tall enough to be big and tall, but I'm a meaty tall. Thank you, Steve-O.